think their main argument is the fact that he has this absolute immunity, that he can do whatever he wants when he was president. But I think it's also key to think about, was he acting in his official capacity while giving the speech?
So there's a lot of factors that the judge will consider. The judge will consider mitigating factors such as Trump's age.
Now, the argument is that no, he is required to do this under New York law and he has to do it. And then the other side of the argument is that the fact that we should still be able to proceed and appeal, that it's not fair that we have to put up this money before we get the opportunity to appeal this.
Why just the 2 counts of second-degree murder instead of for all 4 victims?
Well, this is a horrible tragedy. And so when we look at it from a legal perspective, now these are the initial charges. Potentially, they could be additional charges or other charges as well. But when we look at the charges, we look at the second-degree murder, and that is the most severe one it is. We have to think about the fact that Nikki Haley beat him when it came to moderates in New Hampshire. She beat him when it came to independents in New Hampshire.
And as you know, the state has the burden and they have to prove each element of the crime.
The state was very, very smart in bringing out all his bad acts in the beginning. I mean, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We have to remember that Michael Cohen has more baggage than they would sell at Walmart. I mean, he comes in with a whole truckload of stuff.
Knowledge is key, so it's really important. As we talked about earlier, the knowledge, if there's some kind of issue with the child, that is, when he goes to a different school, that knowledge is passed on to the other school.
Look at from a legal standpoint of what is extortion. It's the fact where you are forcing someone to do something, to threaten them.
But it's still Michael Cohen's word. I mean, is that enough for you?
Well, Michael Cohen can make or break the case, but I think it's important to remember that when you look at this case, the key thing is knowledge, intent, and motive.
Right.
According to the police officers, they're being paid $22 an hour, but in the community, other officers are paid $30 an hour. I mean, American people love a comeback story. Someone that, did wrong, that now is going to do something right. It'll be interesting to see what exactly the states ask for, and potentially they could ask for jail time.
Does Trump team have any chance at all of getting this evidence thrown out?
Well, ultimately, that's going to be to the district court judge. So in regards to this case, there's the Fourth Amendment in our Constitution, which discusses search and seizures. And one of the arguments being made is that under the search and seizure, that in fact, that the search warrant, in order to go get the documents, was very broad. So in regards to a search warrant, what exactly happens is that there has to be probable cause. And probable cause is mean that most likely there was a crime committed or going to be a crime committed. And that was in front of the magistrate judge, and the magistrate judge heard the evidence, and based on an affidavit, that's a sworn affidavit by an FBI agent, made a determination that there should be a search warrant. Okay. But ultimately, it'll be up to Judge Cannon to make a determination of whether the search warrant was overbroad or if the evidence comes in or not.
Well, when we look at this, we have to think when he was on the witness stand, he was very compelling, Michael Cohen. He answered yes or no questions and was direct and to the point. And he reached a point in his life that basically he said he made a decision to pick his family over Trump, which was a very compelling story. I mean, American people love a comeback story. Someone that, did wrong, that now is going to do something right. And on the cross-examination, the defense counsel came in very, very hot, very, very hostile. His first question out of the box was talking about defense counsel and how Michael Cohen portrayed him on TikTok. The judge pulled him over and said, "Why are you making this about yourself? Why aren't you making this about Cohen?" Which was potentially an error. And there was no aha moment during the cross-examination. There was no moment of, "Oh, I got you on this." So ultimately, it was a win for the prosecution.
We have to look at it from the totality of the circumstances. And as you know, the state has the burden and they have to prove each element of the crime. According to the state, they are saying that he was negligent. So in the fact that he did not act when he heard the noises and that he had an obligation to protect the students and the teachers as well to make sure that they were safe. So that's going to be key. Ultimately, it'll be up to the jury of whether they believe that, yes, he knew and he should have acted and he was negligent, or in the fact that, no, he didn't know where it was coming from and he didn't need to go in there because if he didn't know where the fire was coming from. Well, when we look at it from a legal perspective, we have to note that first, he was indicted. So that means that a grand jury, based on the evidence that they heard, believed that there was sufficient evidence to charge him with a crime. And so what has he been charged with? He has been charged with first-degree murder. And in first-degree murder, there has to be the intent, premeditated, planned intent to kill someone.
Parents are being held accountable for something they didn't do. What's your take?
The other case is key in regards to looking at what is going to happen in this case. So when we look at the other case, basically two things that we can see is one, did they make sure that the gun was safe? Did he, give it to his son? And then also what kind of knowledge he knew of what was going on. As we talked about the FBI, and there were some issues about the son potentially being a shooter.